We're back checking in with our plants and our blue water experiment. So let's go check on those and see how they did.
Here are our plants at day 1. You can see that the top of the lettuce is turning blue. That part of the lettuce never was in the water. So the lettuce is sucking up the water and the top is turning blue. It's getting through the lettuce to the top. Here is our pepper. And you can see that the only part that's blue is the part that's been sitting in the water. It has no root system and no stem, so it's not sucking up any water. It's just turning blue from sitting in the water. I finally got some celery, so here it is. I'm going to put it in the water and we'll check in tomorrow to see how it looks. Here we go. Stick it in. Here is day 2 of the experiment. Look how blue the lettuce is turning. And if you look at the pepper, it's still only blue where the color has dyed it. It's not getting sucked up, really. A little bit at the bottom, but I think that might have been splashes. It's not getting sucked up into the top like the lettuce. This was never in the water. Here is the celery after 1 day. As you can see, this top part is getting some blue on it, even though it never touched the water. Under it, you can see that it's also getting dyed a little bit blue, but it's going up through the stem. The celery is a stem, so it's going up through, the blue's going up through those holes and getting sucked to the top. Let's see what it looks like tomorrow. Here we are on day 3, and as you can see, it's blue a lot around the edges of the lettuce, but our lettuce is wilting, so it might not last any more days. It's wilting because it's not attached to the rest of its plant, so it's not able to get the water it needs. Even though it's sucking some up, it doesn't have any nutrients. You can tell that the bottom part, where it's been sitting in the water, has dyed blue. The pepper looks kind of the same as before. The bottom is dyed blue, but it's not sucking up any to the top of the pepper. Remember, that's because it does not have a stem. It's the last day to check our celery, and look at that. It's even blue all the way at the top. So you can tell that the celery was sucking up the water because this part was never in the blue. Now let's see if we can see anything when I cut it open. So I'm going to lie it down here. As you can see, the blue did dye the celery where it was sitting in the water, but that doesn't have anything to do with the top. It's sucking up the blue. So I'm going to cut it. We're going to see if we can see the blue going up the celery. So do you see those blue dots? Those are the straw type suction tubes that the celery uses to suck up the water from the bottom, this is the bottom, to the top of the celery. It goes up those holes. So you can tell because they're blue. Isn't that neat?
Now that we've seen the celery, the lettuce, and the peppers, and noticed what happened, that the celery and the lettuce sucked up some blue, but the pepper did not, I'll explain a little bit why that is. So celery is the stem of a plant, like I mentioned before. It has roots that will come out the bottom, and also has leaves that will come out the top. Inside a celery, it's hard for you to see on the video, but if you have celery at home, you can look at it. There are little tiny dots here that you can see from the top and the bottom. They are strings that go through the celery. You know, when you break a celery, it kind of peels off, and you can see these strings. Well, some of those strings are parts of the stem, and they're a system that pulls water up. So it's like a straw the celery is using. These are like tiny, tiny water straws. The celery is going, sucking it up like a straw and letting the blue go to the top. This is just a regular piece of celery. The other one was still blue, and I didn't want to get all messy, so I didn't pick that one to show you. But as you break a celery, these strings here, see this string right here? Comes all the way from the top to the bottom. That's like a straw that the celery uses to suck up the liquid. That's how it gets water from the roots to the leaves. And the same thing happens with lettuce. It's just a little bit of a different vegetable. So I cut the lettuce. It's hard for you to see here too. But here, there's a hole in the middle of the lettuce and similar type strands inside the celery. So as you can see here, as I ripped it, see that little string here? That is kind of like the straw the the lettuce uses to suck up the water. The pepper is not a leaf and it is not a stem. So it does not have this straw system to suck up anything. That's where the water ends up. It doesn't have any way to suck up more water. That's where it goes at the end. So a pepper will not suck up any water. It does not have the straw-like system inside of it because it's the fruit of a plant. If I took a pepper plant, where the green part where it grows, cut that off and put it in water, it might suck up blue for a couple days before it dies because that's the stem of the plant. But since the pepper is the fruit of the plant, it does not suck up any blue liquid. So last week, I asked you to predict what you think the celery and the lettuce and the pepper will look like once we've waited a couple days to see if that liquid sucked it up. Now you've seen the videos, you've seen what's happened to the celery, it got blue at the top. You've seen what happened to the lettuce, it also got blue at the top. And you see what happened with the pepper, that did not get blue at the top because it did not suck up any water. I would like you to check your predictions from last week and see if you guessed correctly. And it's okay if you didn't, because this is part of learning. You did not know as much about vegetables and fruit and stems and leaves and fruits as you did last week. So now you know it more. So it's okay if your predictions from last week when you didn't know as much, if they were wrong. And that's okay. So check them for this week. See if you were right or you were wrong about the celery, the lettuce, and the pepper. And write to me if you were right or if you were wrong and what parts you were right about. I know some of you got one vegetable right and 2 wrong. Some of you got all 3 right. And some of you didn't get 3 right, and that's okay. So that's one activity. You're also going to have another activity to do. And for that, we're going to go outside.
Hi, we're outside now, and I'm going to show you our activity using the soil. So you're going to have to find a place in the grass, I have some grass around here, that you can see the soil. So this part doesn't have very much grass in it, so I chose to be here, and I'm going to see what I can find in the soil, or on the soil. So I'm going to pick a spot that's about the size of my hand. If I start looking too far away, it's hard to really notice anything, so I want a small area, just about this big, and I'm going to see what I can find in here. So I have the area from about, let's see if I can draw it out. Here's my top. It's a little bit bigger, that's okay. About this big. Now, I have to look around to see what I see, and I might need to do a bit of digging to see what I can find. Now, first off, I see this little rock. Oh, and this little one. So when you see tiny, tiny rocks like this, they're called pebbles. Pebble is a tiny, tiny, tiny little rock. So this rock is very small. It's covered in mud, but it's very small. It's a pebble. This dirt is actually called soil. Dirt is not the best word to use for it because sometimes we say things are dirty, and soil's not really dirty. It's just that's what it is. It is a muddy, and it's called soil. Soil is the more fancy or scientific name for it. Or when you're planting, you don't call it dirt, you call it soil. So we're going to use the right terms called pebbles and soil. There's also a tiny little plant growing. So I found a baby plant. Just before I turned the video on, an ant walked across. So I picked this spot because I thought there might be more ants, but I haven't seen one yet. That's okay. I've also found there's some dried grass here, some dried leaves, and I even found some garbage. This is metal. It's a metal kind of wire for something. So I'm going to throw that away. I'm going to do my part for the environment. I'm going to take it away. But look at all the things I found just in this tiny area. Pebbles, dried grass. There's some living grass, a living plant. There was an ant. Let's see what else we can find. You can also, I'll put my garbage down for a minute. You can also dig to see what's underneath. You might find a worm or some other bugs. Use your fingers, use a tool. Oh, I found another rock down here. So if you're saying, oh, I don't think I have any rocks, maybe you just haven't gone far enough, because there's a rock right here. So take your digging, take some time, dig around as long as your family's okay with it, and look to see what you can find in the soil.
So I've shown you what to look for outside. Now we're going to see, what do you do now that you've found those things? You might have found insects in the soil, you might have found leaves in the soil, you might have found pebbles or sand, or so many different things. Living grass, dead grass. There's so many different things you could find in there, even little bits of plastic, some garbage. Who knows what you found? But I would like you to figure out those 10 things you found. You're going to take a piece of paper. It can be blank, it can have lines, doesn't matter. But on it, you're going to draw the 10 items you found, and you're going to label them. So if I found little pebbles or rocks in my soil, like I did, some of them were smaller, some of them were a bit bigger, I will say that this is rocks, or I could call them pebbles. Pebbles are just little rocks. Pebbles means little rock. A boulder is a big rock. You're not finding a boulder in the soil because you're looking in a small area. You're going to find little pebbles. I also found an ant. Draw my ant. There it is. And I will call it ant. You can say if you found a black ant, you found a red ant. Those can count as 2 different things. But you're going to eventually need 10. I'm going to do one more to show you, but I don't want to spoil what you might find. So I'm only going to show you one more, and then the rest of them you have to go find. Okay? I'm also going to draw some, it kind of looks scraggly and bendy because it looks broken. I found dried grass. It was dead grass. I recently mowed my lawn, so some dried grass that I cut is still sitting on the lawn and got into the dirt a little bit, into the soil. So I have 1, 2, 3 things so far. I would need 7 more. I want you to try to find 10 things in the soil. If you can't find 10 in the little area you started with, move over a little bit. Try it in another area. Oh, we have a visitor. Kitty's trying to get in the way. All right, good luck with your soil. Find your 10 things. And remember, your other activity today is also to check your predictions for the blue water experiment. So you have to find 10 things in the soil, and were your vegetable and fruit predictions right or wrong? Good luck, and I'll see you later. Bye.